Hi boys and girls, it's Boney Joe and PipBoy. We're back in the garage today. We're working on something really special. Mom and Dad gave me a call the other day. Do you boys and girls have a mom and dad? I'll bet you do. PipBoy had a mom and dad, but you know that nuclear war thing came and wiped out the entire planet, and his parents got killed. But after the fallout, well, you know, the rest of us came about. But anyway, Mom and Dad called and they said, we need you to build us a bear-proof bird feeder. I said, well, gee, Mom and Dad, that's kind of fun. We're going to make something that a bear can't get. So I'm going to call it the Unbearable. It's going to be a bird feeder. We're going to try to catch little bits and pieces of it as we go. But first things first, today we're going to work on the very top of the post for the bird feeder. Decided that, well, if Mr. Bear gets up on something and tries to grab the top of that bird feeder, we're going to put a big old spike top on the top of it. Doesn't that sound like fun? A big old spike top. Now, you kids, be careful. You play with spike tops, you might get poked. But today we got a piece of steel. It's just flat steel. I'm going to guess about, I don't know, a 32nd of an inch. Not quite an eighth of an inch, but still, it's a piece of plate steel. And we drew us a little 3-inch triangle on there. That's going to be one of 4 tops that we're going to use on the top of the bird feeder there. So today we're going to cut this out here. We're going to get out our Sawzall. Do you kids remember the Sawzall? Boney Joe put a brand new blade on it. So hopefully we're not going to get cut up too bad today. So we're going to chuck up our piece of steel in our vise over here. And we're going to cut out this little triangle point. So we got Mr. Sawzall. Remember, kids, when you're working with power tools, don't always do the things that Boney Joe does because, well, you might get hurt. And who knows, if you get lucky, you might see Boney Joe get hurt. Or even PipBoy, although it'd be a shame if PipBoy got hurt. So here we go. We're going to cut a little triangle. We're going to need to get this set up. Well, that was a little more challenging than Boney Joe thought. But here's our first piece that's going to go on top of that. Doesn't that look like a scary old thing for a bear to get stuck on? We're hoping that maybe we'll get film of the bear putting his big old paw on there and getting a poke. We're going to make 3 more of these real quick, and we're going to come back and show you how we attach them to the project, all right? Okay, boys and girls, just like magic, we finished cutting out our 4 pieces to put on top. We got 1, we got 2, we got 3, we got 4. Can you boys and girls count to 4? I had a feeling you probably could. Now these 4 pieces, they're pretty close in size, they're pretty similar, but as you can see up close, they're just a little bit off. So what we're going to do is we're going to break out Boney Joe's flap wheel, and we're going to throw it on the vise here, and we're going to make them all exactly the same. What we're going to do is we're going to put all 4 of these together like a little sandwich, although I wouldn't suggest eating a sandwich because, well, they might hurt your teeth a little bit if you tried chewing on them. And I'm going to take my flap wheel. Now, what's a flap wheel, boys and girls? Well, the flap wheel is a big old wheel with little pieces of sandpaper. Now, there must be, I don't know, more than a few little pieces of sandpaper, and we're going to fire it up. That's a noisy toy. It's also the kind of toy that if you touch it when it's spinning, it's going to take the skin right off. So here we go. We're just going to level these out and make them all even, just like this here. boys and girls, when you run a tool like that on metal, you have to understand that friction is created. Do you know what friction is, boys and girls? Right. Friction is what makes that way too hot to touch with your fingers. Did you see that? Did you see how the steam poured off there? That means if you touch that, you're going to get a big old blister. So we're going to use vice grips. Vice grips are real handy. They're handy for lots of things. But today we're going to use them for grabbing a hold of a piece of metal. As you can see how I've ground that down nice and smooth, how they're all nice and even. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. We're going to put that right back in the vise. We're going to give that a little pinch. Remove our vice grips, and we're going to give it another quick grind. Alright, boys and girls, those are all nice and even. So once again, we're going to grab them with our little vice grip tool. And we're going to take these right over to our water bucket, which we keep right over here. It's a little bucket, and we're going to cool these off in a little bit of water. There we go. Now, boys and girls, can you see how nice and even that is? Look, those 4 pieces just like one piece of steel. All right, so we're going to set up the grinder. We're going to clean these up a little more, and we're going to show you how we weld them together. Okay, boys and girls, Pip-Boy and me are back. We've got our 4 little pieces of steel, our triangles, that's going to go on top of our unbearable bird feeder. How are we going to do this? Well, kids, I don't have a scientific formula. I wish I could say, well, E equals MC square, and now we got a pointy top. But that's not how it works. Boney Joe's an artist, and he doesn't really care. I'm going to put it up there. I'm going to give it a little tack in place. And we're going to guesstimate and hope that it all comes out. So here's our first piece. We're going to set this right on there. And we're just going to figure, well, that looks pretty close to the middle. Looks pretty even on my side. We're going to put our welding helmet down. And we're just going to put a little bitty tack weld right there. Okay. So our first piece has a little tack weld on it. It's not very strong. But now we're going to take our next piece, and we're going to set it up here too. We're just going to tap that in until we think we're pretty close to the middle. We're going to put a little tack weld right on there as well. Helmet down, and now you boys and girls might ask what a tack weld is. Well, a tack weld is just a little spot of weld that we put on there till we figure out right where we want our pieces to go. We're going to set our next piece in place. We're going to say, well, geez, we didn't get them very close. So now we're going to tap them into place with a hammer. Now, you boys and girls, when you're working with a hammer, keep your fingers out of the way because, well, it hurts like hell when you smack your finger. Any of you boys and girls ever smacked your finger before? Boney Joe sure has. More times than he can say. All right, so we're going to take another piece. We're going to set it on here. Put it right up there, kind of like that. We're going to squeeze this piece in. We're going to do a little tack weld. Oh. Just about right there, boys and girls. Okay. That's pretty close to where we want it to be. We got us a little tack weld there. And we have our 4th and final piece. It's going to need to go right on here. Just like that. Now this piece is going to be a little tricky because, well, got the other ones kind of set up already. So we're going to hold this one in place. We're going to put our mast down. We're going to put that in place. Now, as you boys and girls can see, we got all 4 of those rascals pretty close together to where they need to be. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come back I'm going to weld those all together and we're going to see how it comes out. Oh, well, welcome back, boys and girls. As you can see, we're just putting some finishing touches. On our unbearable bird feeder. I think we got it pretty good. We're going to give you boys and girls a real good close-up look here. At our little bird feeder here, so we're going to see if we can't bring this camera right over here. Let y'all take a nice look at that. Isn't that pretty, boys and girls? That's going to be the very top of the post for our unbearable, bear-proof bird feeder. Now, I don't know about you boys and girls, but if I was a big old bear and I climbed up and I fell on that, I'd be embarrassed. Embarrassed. Especially if it went up your bear's ass, then he'd be a really embarrassed bear ass. Anyway, boys and girls, stay tuned to our next episode when we're going to work on some other parts of the unbearable bird feeder for Mom and Dad. It's PipBoy, it's Boney Joe. You kids all have a great day, okay? Thank you.